I want to know is what you guys are learning through right now.
I think the faith thing has been a big struggle for us, and coming through that. And as a senior leader of the church, I think, whenever people think of leadership, they use the John Maxwell leadership as influence thing.
Yeah.
Great. It's fantastic. Leadership is defining reality for people, and reality is what is most real. And so our job is to help them attach to what is most real with their life, right? And so in a big way, a pastor or a team's job is to set expectations for everybody. And if you think about it like a pie chart, if you will, or a spoke of a wheel, and we tend to think of everything like this, like, here's my work life, here's my family life, here's my recreational life, here's my, and we just take that wheel, and at the center of it we put church, because church is the center of what Jesus' activity is in the world. And so we actually think that when you subtract something from your life, that you're supposed to subtract something from one of those spokes. Andy Stanley did a thing on this, something similar a while back. He called it choose to cheat. He's like, you got too much to do, and there's no way that you have enough margin to get everything done in your life. Therefore, you're going to have to cheat at something. He goes, cheat at work. And he's like, cheat the time at work. Don't cheat your relationship with God. Don't cheat your relationship with family. And I totally agree with that. Like, we just need to have a reorientation of what people's expectations are. And so again, leadership is setting what is normal. It's defining reality for people.
How do you live through that cheat at work idea when work is church for you and so much of the people?
Yeah, that's great. One of our worship pastors, he's been with me for 12 out of the 16 years. He was like, I don't know if I want to continue in ministry anymore. He's tired. And so he's like, I need a sabbatical, and then I'll kind of let you know. He went off on a sabbatical, came back, and by God's grace, he was ready to do it. But it was one of the things that we kind of realized, because every single person on our staff drives really hard.
Right.
They're all just driven to do what they do really excellently. We have this house rule called Wow Making Excellence. And so the idea behind it is, like, we really want people to walk in and go, wow, this place is amazing in X, Y, and Z way. Whether it's the graphic arts that we use, the worship, the preaching, the whatever. And so consequently, people give their lives, a lot of their life to this. And we talk about how we don't have a work life and a home life. We just have life, and everything flows out of the church. So the downside to that can be that you can run yourself into the ground because you're doing God's work, right? And so we actually set some things behind the scenes in place. So we have a policy here where you have to be here on Tuesdays, and then you don't have to be here for the rest of the week. As long as you're kind of getting your stuff done and everything, we have flex hours, flex time, and then we also have comp time on top of that. Every 5 years now, you get a month sabbatical, paid. Before I was a pastor, I was a counselor, therapist. And so the mental health of our congregation and the hearts of our staff are super important to me. Not to mention, I just love these guys. Like, right. I love our staff. There's not one person on our staff I don't think is everything. Like, they're just awesome. And so we don't want them to have any kind of those conflicts like that. So we try to create some systems behind the scenes to do that.
It's really easy to get to a place where we just feed people to the systems. And like to make sure you have systems that are feeding the people. And how kind of different that is.
So moving on, what is one thing that you feel like all church leaders should know?
I was at a pastor's group not too long ago. They said, what is the one thing that a church planner needs to know? And I said, pastoring is not intellectually challenging. It's not a hard thing. There's only a finite number of things you do. We have the same book. It should have the same interpretation over and over again. We teach the same stories. Our job is to obviously make it a little bit more creative in the process. But at the end of the day, perseverance is the most important thing that you can possess in terms of leadership, I think. Because if you have perseverance, so many people just stop short because they just get tired, they get burned out, they get whatever. And I get that. I've been there. But I think if you're called, that's the difference. Like, if you're called, you push through, right? And if you push through, you can grow. If you push through, you can learn. If you push through, you can adapt. You can do all those things.
Okay, so you guys grew from nothing to 2,500, I believe you said?
Yep.
I've been a part of a church that had a similar growth track. And, it was difficult.
Yeah.
And you make so many different mental shifts along the way, in the way that you lead, in the things that you value as a church. And we almost didn't survive because, like, from a business standpoint, the church grows in numbers, but your resources don't grow until later. Once people really feel like, okay, I've found a place I can belong, and they feel like they can trust the church, and then they start giving their time, they start giving money.
Yep.
And so like the weight of that lack of resources is carried on the back of the staff.
Right.
And so like you've got that going on, plus the way you lead a church of 100 is very different from the way you lead a church
So
of
different.
500
So
versus 1,000 versus 2,500. There's another huge shift.
Yep.
I think the thing that's going to help most people is hearing your perspective on how you came to the realization that almost a whole paradigm shift has to change at each stage of the way. And how do you identify like what that shift is going to be?
Usually through pain and crisis. Honestly, you realize, man, there's stuff going on in my heart right now that I'm not aware of, and it's just I feel bad. Like there's just something not right. And then usually it's a God calling us to say, I need your attention, and I need you to focus on something new. So I would say, especially like if you have viewers who are just starting out or leading small churches, I just want to say to them, and this goes in line with the whole perseverance thing, just stick with it. Just continue to press in, do what you're doing, because what you're doing is more difficult than leading a church of 2,500. I can tell you that because I've done it. It's 10 times harder to preach to 30 or 40 people than it is to preach to 1,000 people, right? And the reason why is because it's when you're in the place of trying to carry all the energy, when you're trying to carry all the emotion, when you're trying to carry all the finances, when you've got all this stuff going on, it's just it's all on you. And so if you're a church planner right now and you're trying to like figure it out, you have the hardest road, and this is the most difficult time. And but it will get better, and you just got to continue to execute excellence and do that. Around the third year of the church, we had about 300 people, and I had one of those crises, and that was like our first big. Going from 0 to 300 was kind of smooth sailing, but I was making strategic decisions that were bad for me and for my family. Meaning that somebody would call me up and say, "Hey man, my kid's in a baseball game this week. Will you come out and do it?" I'm like, "Yeah," and there was a fear in my heart behind that question, and that was, "I need you to be here at the church, and I don't want you to leave." Right? Every small church pastor goes through something like that. And I don't know that it's avoidable. I don't know that you can walk into church planning and go, I'm spiritually mature. And, and I don't struggle with that. I've never met one at least. And so one of the challenges was I was just running ragged, and I just kind of felt like I was at the end of myself. And my wife was like, "This is because you just became everyone's pocket pastor. Whenever they want you, they just pull you out and they put you back in, So I went to church, and I was just kind of at the end of my rope. And I said, "Listen, you guys, we're going to build a big church. I'm not going to be your small church pastor anymore. If you don't like that, you can leave." And half the church left.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, we had all the number of all those people back, but we had new people with bigger vision. We're like, we're gonna grow, and we're going to reach people for Jesus, because it's not about building a church; it's about reaching people for Christ. And then, like I said, the one that I'm basically kind of going through right now, and it's not like a thing I'm all through. I'm trying to still figure it out. Moments of like intense anxiety where I'm just like, man, I know I'm called to do this. I'm not supposed to do this, but I don't always feel equipped for it. And I got these amazing, wise, good men around me who are like, it's okay. We'll grow together. We'll figure it out. And, then just let God do what he's going to do. But it's a lot of walking by faith right now. I think this has been an extraordinary season of God saying, I love you. I'm with you. I'm for you. I put great people in your life. They're speaking into you. But I imagine that down the road, I'll see another few of these before my ministry's over.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the great thing about it. You've done this enough that you now at least recognize the process when it's happening.
Right.
And you know that it's worth it to make it through to the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. There's always better stuff on the other side of that if you can just persevere.
Push through. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking it out this week. We've got one more week ahead with Pastor Mike.
One more. You don't want to miss it. Come back next week and check it out.